everyone, it's Miss Kelly from the Wakanda Area Library. Today I'm here to show you what you're doing with this month's virtual teen art. So this month you'll be making a little blue fox in honor of our new blue fox mascot. And we're going to turn yours into a little key fob or a little key holder here. Right, so inside your kit you're going to find all the pieces that have been pre-cut to make your fox, some needle and thread, a little bit of stuffing, and glue. All you'll need is some scissors and a marker to draw the eyes on. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is take the front piece of the body here and we're going to add these little cheeks. Let's glue those little cheeks on. So take your glue. Just remember the felt glue can seep through, so be careful not to use too much. But you definitely want to put enough on there for it to adhere. You're just going to center them in there. You're going to need to make sure you need to leave enough room above them to draw the little eyes on. Okay. All right, and then the tail, you can see it perfectly fits at one of the ends, so just kind of check which end it fits on. There we go. And just make sure you have it turned the right way. The felt does get a little fuzzy when you cut it, so you might need to go and trim the edges of your felt. Alright, that guy on there. And just tap it down. Extra glue on there. Okay. Alright, so we've got the tail tip on, the cheeks on, and then we're going to do his little feet. Take these two little guys and we're going to glue them like this. Okay, we want them to hang over the end a little bit. So you can see they're going to be loose on the bottom here. Okay. Go ahead and glue those on too. And you can see in my sample, in my original fox that I made, I sewed the feet on, but I really decided I like this look better. So if you want to be ambitious and sew your feet on instead, you can. But I really like this seamless look a little bit better. I like to have the stitches just around the edge. Okay, so cheeks are on, feet are on, tails assembled. We're gonna set those to the side and work on our sewing. So you can see that both pieces need to be, they're the same shape, but if you turn them, you've got a little different edge. So make sure that you've got the edges facing the right way so that they match up. Use those little dents on the side, that really helps. Okay, and then you're gonna take your needle and thread. Remember, you're gonna thread it through and double it down and then tie it. So you've actually got a double length of thread here. The longer the thread is, the trickier it is to work with. So if you wanna make shorter ones and just keep rethreading and sewing that way, that's entirely up to you. It gets tangled fairly easily. So I didn't use all my thread. I made it a little bit shorter. I'm probably going to have to thread it again. So we're gonna start right here in that first dent. And I've got it pinched together. And then we're just going to sew around the edges. And you can just poke your needle up. Remember, it's sharp, be careful. And see if you don't, before you push it all the way through, look and make sure you like the position that it's in. You want it to be close enough so that the stuffing isn't going to leak out the side. Alright. But I mean, they're definitely going to show. That's the point of sewing like this. We definitely want that to show. Got a little extra piece of string coming through there. That's part of the charm of these. You can see the little stitches all the way around the edges. All right, but you can take a little sneak preview of where it's going to come through before you pull it all the way down. And then just keep going all the way around. All right. We're going to sew all the way around till we get to the bottom of this flat part, the end of the flat part at the bottom here, and then we're going to stop there. Okay, so here we are at the bottom of the flat section here. Okay, and now we're going to add our tail. Hopefully your glue should be dry by now. You're just going to open up the two sections. And put that right in there, just sandwich it in between. Okay, and then wiggle it around to get it at the angle you like, however you want it to look. I think I put mine like that, so it's up a little bit. And then we're going to pinch it together, and then you're going to keep sewing. And this time we're going to sew right through it. Just keep doing what you were doing. Just come around. You can feel it's a little thicker. You're going to push a little harder. Be careful, don't poke yourself. Now you can feel you're going through 3 layers. I can feel I'm capturing the tail in there. So now I'm just going to poke down right through the tail, right at the edge of the body. And then we're going to do the same thing. Go ahead and secure the tail all the way on. So now that I've got my tail all the way secured on, I'm gonna go ahead and keep sewing around until I get about midway to the top of the head here, because that's when we're gonna go ahead and add the ears. So go ahead and sew up to here, and then we're gonna stop again right there and get those ears on. Okay, so I've stopped right here on the side of the head. Now we're gonna add our ears. We're gonna see, this is up to you again. We're gonna do it the same way. You guys are experts now, you did the tail, the ear will be easy. We're gonna put it in between, and then look and see how much of it you want sticking out. Do you want it to be a little bit bigger or shorter? You can pull it up a little higher, okay? And then you decide, you want it angled like that, however you want it. And we're gonna do the same thing. You're just gonna pinch it in between there, and then you're gonna sew through again. I did have to rethread my needle again. I was out of thread. I'm just gonna pick up right where I left off. And you can feel when you start catching the edge of that ear, it's getting thicker. Gotta push a little harder. And just go ahead and sew right through it. Now, because we're making this into a little key fob, we're gonna add the loop in between the two ears. So before we do that, we're gonna add our stuffing too, because since this is pretty small, you're not gonna have a lot of room, a very big opening to put the stuffing in. You don't need a lot of stuffing, we just want it to be a little puffy. Give it a little animation. So I probably gave you way more stuffing than you need, but it's up to you how much or how little you want to put in there. Right. I did already pre-cut the felt for the loop for you. You might need to trim it if you want. It might be a little too long. We'll take a look at that and see. All right, so make sure you get all the way to the corner of this ear before we stop, because we don't want that one little corner to poke up. Here done, because you can feel you're holding it. So once I get to the end, I don't want to have to hold that ear anymore. So I'm going to go one more little stitch there. Okay, so now we've got a pretty good size opening here, but just think though, we still have to put all the stuffing in. We want to put that little loop in and the other ear. So you've got to kind of squeeze everything in here. So to make your loop, you're just going to fold your fabric right in half like this, and that's going to get tucked in like that. I'm gonna try and center it right between the two ears, okay? If it's too big, you can trim it down, or you could just tuck more of it inside. I think I might trim mine a little bit. Okay. All right, and then remember, you're gonna need to leave room for your other ear too, so judge. So we need to go like that. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna stuff our fox before we go any farther, because that's already a pretty small opening we have there. So let's take our stuffing. I'm gonna kind of squish it up as small as I can and put it in there, and then it'll fluff back up. Just use your finger. If you can't get your finger all the way down in there, you can use a pencil or a chopstick. Just squish it all the way down there. Make sure you spread it out through the whole body. Okay. Now, if you can see on this one, I didn't make it, I just made it a little puffy. I didn't put that much in. It's entirely up to you how much you want to put in. I'll put a little bit more in this guy. I want his head to be a little puffier. Just make sure you don't accidentally push your thread in too, because then you're going to have a tangle to get that out. Okay. All right. So now I'm pushing it away from the opening because I want to be able to work here, but when we're done, I'm going to go like that and squish it back out. So tuck it back so it's away from your opening. Don't worry if some of it's coming out like that, you can trim it when you're done, but get it back as far as you can. That makes it easier to work when it's really not in the area that you're working in. You're gonna fold your loop in half, and you wanna try and put that right in the middle of your two ears, all right? So I'm gonna put my other ear in right now just so I can check and see if it's in the middle. I don't expect you to have to hold it the whole time. I'm just gonna look and see if I've got it in the right spot. I think it needs to come over a little bit more. Okay. All right, so that loop should be about in the middle of the head. So I'm gonna hold the loop, and we're just gonna sew that loop in right now. So I've got a few stitches to go before I get to the loop. Try not to tangle it up on my ears. The more things you add, the trickier it gets to sew, because it wants to get caught on everything as it comes around. It's gonna get hung up on that ear like it was getting hung up on the tail when you were sewing the tail. All right, ready to go through the loop now. Just keep kind of throwing the thread forward. Also keep going slow. If you go fast, you're gonna end up with tangled thread again. It's not fun. Okay. This is much smaller, it's just gonna take a few. But remember, it's gonna be hanging from this. You wanna make sure you adhere it really well. So get a couple good stitches in that loop so it's strong. Okay, I feel like that is in pretty strong. Make sure, just like on the ear, you went all the way to the edge before you let go. And if you could see how I keep poking up and coming back out, that's what you do. You can check and make sure your stitch is going to be where you like before you pull the thread through. You do that. If you do that, you'll be able to get it in the right spot. Okay, so now I know we've got a couple stitches to do before the ear goes in, but we're going to get the ear in now so we can make sure we have it in the right spot. So open up that little piece again there. And make sure you've got your ear in the right spot so it's standing up. Also, it's important to make sure you have the same amount of ear out as you do on the other side. Otherwise they won't be the same size. Looks about the same. So I'm going to pinch that and go ahead and sew through this. Oops, you can see mine came out. It's not all the way in there. You got to make sure. Keep checking. Also, it's really important to make sure that your front and back stay in alignment through the whole time too. Place. All right, everything's set before I go through. Although it's not set permanently, if you know, you can always cut the thread and pull it back out if you're not happy with the placement. You can always check and take a look at it, or if you don't feel like it's in there strong enough. Sewing is definitely not permanent. You can always undo it. Take a little work, but you can definitely do it. Okay, now I just have that one little part of my ear in so far, and now I'm going to stop and check and see if I like it and it look even to me. All right, so just keep pinching it together and we're going to sew all the way through to the end this time. All right, so there he is. I went all the way through to the end and I cut my thread and tied it off. You guys go back and trim any pieces. And then I had to kind of give him a little wiggle to move all the stuffing around so it's even. All right, now we're going to take that glue again and glue our body on. But before you do that, I want you to take your marker and do it. It's easier to do your eyes when it's still flat like this. So I'm doing just these little half circle smiling eyes. You guys can do anything you want. I think my little fox is happy. I guess you could give eyelashes or whatever. There you go. And then take your glue and run it all the way around. Definitely going to need some drying time. I want you to put a little bit of heavier glue on than I did before. Just take and make sure you line it up. You can use those little dents in the sides kind of as a guide where it should go, and then just squish them flat. There he is. Okay. And one last thing, you had that little rectangle of felt. You can use that to cut a little nose out of. I already cut one here. I cut kind of like a little oval, but you could always maybe make a heart or any shape that you want. I'm gonna add the little nose here. Add that in. Okay, and kind of touch those edges down. It's definitely gonna need some drying time. Remember, we want the feet to be up and loose like that. And then you can add your little key fob on. Probably be better if you wait until yours is completely dry though. I'm gonna go ahead and do mine so you guys can see what it's gonna be like. There you go. And there you have it. Make sure you go back and check that all the sides have adhered well. You could always add a little bit more glue when you're done. Just give them a nice little squish down. Okay? I hope you guys had fun. Send me pictures of your completed foxes, or maybe I'll see them around the library. Bye now.